So you got Dark Souls in simple, now you will get all the complexity of it. Gameplay wise we covered the basics, but we didn't talk about items, sorcery, level stats and upgrading your weapons. Story wise I told you about Lord Gwyn and how he betrayed mankind of its rightful place in history. How there are two fractions regarding his legacy. You can choose to end the era of flames and enter an age of darkness, destined to be humanity's realm. Or you sacrifice yourself and continue what Lord Gwyn started and sacrifice everything to uphold for future generations. But I haven't told you anything about the world, its inhabitants and how you can influence, not the story, but many people's fate. I will again go through the game in which order everything occurs and when you can reach certain conclusions. When starting the game I didn't tell you about the other classes you are able to choose. Most people, and especially newcomer, will immediately be drawn to a simple knight. Armor, shield and sword, that's your typical fantasy stuff. Next to your weapon you are able to invest into pyromancy or work with miracles. Let's focus on those for a second. Your, let's call it pyromancy hand, is just another weapon you can equip. With that you are able to learn an array of flame-based range attacks. You see here how the amount of spells you can cast depletes after each use. You can replenish your spells at each bonfire. Then there are miracles you can cast. It's basically the same thing. You equip a talisman with slightly different properties and now you can cast a broad array of miracles. Then there is outright sorcery and magic. For that you need a catalyst. I separate magic from pyromancy and miracles because the other two you can manage by the side. Sorcery on the other hand needs real dedication and an immense amount of levels in intelligence. So you definitely have to neglect other important stats if you want to go magic. Pyromancy needs dexterity for some reason, which you will level either way, and miracles need faith, but it is possible to ignore if you just want to use it on the wayside. To level up the amounts of spells you are able to use, you will have to level up attunement by the way. This is essential for all three. By the way, the game tells you nothing about this and you have to Google all of this shit. With your class chosen, you begin your simple existence at the Northern Undead Asylum high up in the mountains. This facility was obviously created to get the raging outburst of human hollows under control. You meet the knight Oscar, who is on his last legs and implores you to continue his quest and seek the land of lords.
Regrettably, I have failed in my mission, but perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family, "Thou who art undead art chosen." And thine exodus from the undead asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know.
Upon his relief that you will eventually prevail, he warns you to distance yourself from him. He will soon become a hollow and attack you.
Now I must bid farewell. I would hate to harm you after death. So go now, and thank you.
Oscar is one of a few really friendly characters you will encounter on your quest. He entrusts you with the Estus Flask. After finding a bonfire to rest and save progress, so to speak, you challenge the Asylum Demon, guard of the asylum so that no undead or hollow may escape. What a demon is in comparison to hollows, you will only learn much later on, but they are completely different things. A gigantic raven then transfers you to the lowest level of the Kingdom of Lordran. This is to some degree your hub, where you are able to revisit most NPCs you meet on your journey. A little plateau called Firelink Shrine. You will meet 3 people here. The mute firekeeper Anastasia, she will upgrade your Estus Flask if you bring her other firekeeper souls. The crestfallen warrior, he has so many dialogue I will not be able to play most of it. First he makes fun of your impossible struggle in this world.
You'd have done better to rot in the undead asylum. But too late now. Well, since you're here, let me help you out.
But the further in the game you talk to him, the more he is impressed by your succession.
Why, what a surprise. I didn't expect you to make it. Oh, somebody rang the bell. Wait, was it you? You never give up, do you?
He tells you about the 2 bells that must be rung to enter Sen's fortress, the gateway to the gods. He informs you how to regain your humanity.
Restoring your humanity? Well, there are a few ways to go about it. Collect it bit by bit from corpses. Or you can butter up a cleric and get yourself summoned. And the quickest way, although I'd never do it, is to kill a healthy undead.
He tells you to repair and upgrade your weapons. He even informs you of what most people Google, how to travel back to the undead asylum.
That crow flew off with somebody in its clutches. I think it was a man curled up in a ball. Stranger things have happened, right?
For most people, his dialogue appears to be unimportant drivel, which is really a shame. Last we have Petrus of Voreland. At first he doesn't want to engage in a conversation with you.
Hello there. I believe we are not acquainted. I am Petrus of Thoroughland. Have you business with us? If not, I'd prefer to keep a distance, if possible.
Nag him a few times and he will give you a copper coin, and you are welcome to join his covenant.
Hello there. I realize that I have requested that we retain our distance, but I also want you to know that it is not meant in ill will. Here, take this, as a token of peace. No, go ahead. It's for you.
He's waiting for his 2 colleagues who accompany the maiden rear. At first glance he appears to be amazingly friendly. Be guaranteed that this will change. He teaches you miracles and sells you talismans.
I have to await my companions here anyway. So what if I were to teach you some miracles? Would that please you?
With the miracles you will be able to push enemies back, return to the last bonfire or heal yourself. Most of these miracles demand a rather high faith level and won't be accessible to you yet. The coin he gives you tells a rather bleak tale about Lordran, a currency of man that is worth nothing in the kingdom where its currency is souls, it says. Petrus's covenant, on the other hand, is a brotherhood of helping hands. It is designed to bundle online players together who are members of the Way of the White to help each other out. In Firelink Shrine you will discover many standard items like humanity, a finite item to enter online play, the homeward bone which lets you travel to the last bonfire, or the cracked red eye orb which lets you infiltrate another player's session to kill them and steal their humanity. You can also leave a mark for others with the white sign soapstone to be summoned as help in their session. So you enter Undead Burg, the walls and crenellations of Lordran, infested by an army of hollows. You will be startled by the giant wyvern that lands in front of you. In this area you will find an item called Gold Pine Resin. You can give your weapon lightning damage for a short amount of time with it. This is great against dragons and enemies of fire. The counterpart to it would be the Charcoal Pine Resin. It inflicts your weapon with fire damage. But one of your first items will become the Fire Bomb. This is for the players who didn't want to become a pyromancer as an incentive to try it out just once without investing any stats or entering the class itself. Along the way you might meet the Undead Merchant. Interestingly enough, he tells you all about the Capra Demon later on, and the Wyvern, and the Taurus Demon you will face in a few minutes.
A horrible goat demon has moved in below. And up above, there's that humongous drake, and a bull demon too. If you stick around this place, it might end up being your grave.
You can buy standard items from him, but if you decide to kill him, you will be able to wield the Uchigatana, one of people's favorites. It doesn't need much stats to handle and has many options to level up. You do not have to face him, but you are granted the option to challenge the Black Knight. I guess I will wait until later to tell you about their agenda in this story. He guards the blue Tearstone ring forged in the kingdom of Katarina, to which I will refer later on as well. This ring will boost your stats when your health plunges under 20%. There is nothing more to say about the Taurus demon. He further enforces the theme of demons roaming the land. Next you will meet up with everyone's favorite, Solaire. Besides Oscar, he is the most friendly character in the whole game. Solaire tells you of his worship of the sun. He heard of the glorious deeds of Lord Gwyn and his kingdom.
Now that I am undead, I have come to this great land, the birthplace of Lord Gwyn, to seek my very own son. You find that strange? Well, you should. No need to hide your reaction. I get that look all the time.
Before encountering the infamous Hellkite Wyvern and entering the next area, you are able to confront Havel the Rock and even kill him. He's just a hostile NPC without dialogue, but upon entering Anor Londo later on, there is a huge story to him, with which I will wait to tell you about. Now you enter the Undead Parish to ring the first bell. This is some sort of forecourt to a chapel and a connecting piece to Sen's Fortress and the Darkroot Garden underneath the Burg. Here you will meet the blacksmith Andre of Astora. I will not go into his dialogue at all. He has some foreshadowing about the two before mentioned places and nothing else insightful. Like every other NPC, you are able to kill him, which would be utterly stupid because he's basically the only one who can properly upgrade your weapons. Before entering the chapel, you are advised to dispose of this huge armor-plated boar. Up ahead you will encounter far more cunning foes than the undead, called Balder Knights. They stem from the kingdom of Balder, ruled by King Randall, who is printed on a silver coin. He visited this land to conquer Sen's Fortress. We will learn of his demise later. In the chapel you will be confronted by a channeler and a knight of Berenique. We will talk about the channelers later. They were sent by Seath, the Scaleless Dragon, to abduct specimen for his experiments. In the chapel you can free the knight Lautrec from his prison cell. He promises you compensation, but has to attend business first.
Thank you. Yes, sincerely. I am Knight Lautrec of Karim. I truly appreciate this, and I guarantee a reward. Only later. Yes, very sorry. Your reward will have to wait. I've just been freed. Allow me some time.
After you fought the two gargoyles guarding the first bell, you will meet Oswald of Karim. Lautrec, by the way, is from the same land as him. He is in service of the goddess Velka, observer of sin. Oswald can absolve you of your sins. This mainly includes killing or aggroing NPCs. Aggroed NPCs will again be peaceful towards you after your cleansing. You can also buy Velka's talisman, which works with intelligence rather than faith. So this works well if you are first and foremost a sorcerer. You can buy 2 bite rings from him, commissioned by Sir Astor of Karim. They effectively shield against poison and bleed. You can also buy 10 rings of sacrifice, rings forged for the Order of Velka. Upon your death, you do not lose your souls, but the ring shatters. It's time to return to Firelink Shrine. Here you meet Lautrec again. He has a gift for you for freeing him. It is a sunlight medal. If you have enough faith, you can join Solaire's covenant. The medal speaks of Gwyn's firstborn, who was stripped of his status as a god and exiled from Anor Londo, throne of the gods. It is said he still watches upon his followers. Being member of the Covenant, you learn the Lightning Spear miracle and are held to help other players to defeat bosses. From here on out, it is advised to kill Lautrec immediately, because later he is prone to kill the poor Firekeeper Anastasia. And without a Firekeeper you cannot save at Firelink Shrine anymore, so kill the dick.
I'm considering a change of location. I have a rather pressing matter to attend to up above. That keeper has served me well, but enough with her.
He leaves the otherwise unobtainable item Ring of Favor and Protection. It speaks of the goddess Fina, of whom is only spoken of in connection with Lautrec. The ring boosts HP, stamina and makes you lighter, but once you put it on you may never take it off or otherwise it shatters. You remember how Petrus spoke of his companions he's waiting for? They arrived now. It's the maiden Rhea in companion with her 2 bodyguards. I have to say, for that Rhea has the longest running quest in the entire game, she's a real stick in the mud and outright rude.
You are undead as well? Then we've no time to fraternize. I have my mission and you no doubt have yours. We must not let this curse overcome us. Did I not explain the urgency of our tasks? Or are you so uncouth as to lack such judgment?
The next time we will visit here, she will have wandered into the Tomb of Giants with her bodyguards and Petrus. Lower Undeadburg seemed to serve as the housing area of the kingdom. Once domesticated dogs will maul you as undead. You will be flanked by undead assassins who wield poisonous weapons. Silent and quickly, they will overwhelm you in an instant. Since Lower Undeadburg is basically just one room, you immediately face the Capra demon. In the depths, you will encounter an undead giant butcher. He holds the pyromancer Laurentius captive in a barrel, presumably to be cooked in a later occasion, I guess?
You. Yes, you. Here, over here. Please, you must help me. You must help me. Or else she'll have me for lunch. You're my only hope. Oh, please. Thank you.
Later in Firelink Shrine, he will tell you a little bit about pyromancy and especially about the Witch of Izalith.
Pyromancy has a, well, rather primitive aspect to it. It meshes poorly with advanced culture, and pyromancers are considered rather unsavoury. Which is fine, as I never got along with anybody anyway. So, for me, turning undead didn't change a thing. The Witch of Izalith, one of the legendary lords, is the godmother of pyromancy. So the day I became undead, I was ecstatic. I felt as if I'd been chosen to attune myself to the ancient arts. Of course, it wasn't all that romantic in the end.
Sadly, he is another disposable character who will wander off into the swamps and die later on. You can buy a few pyromancy spells from him, by the way. Before wandering any further, be sure to get hold of a large ember. The blacksmith needs it to further strengthen your weapons. When you look down the garbage drain, you will encounter the giant rat, which is severely damaged from a blow to the eye already. The interesting thing about this encounter is, you can kill the rat and its companions completely long range from up above. Further down, between slime and rats, await the dreaded basilisks. I told you about getting cursed before, and those guys are the main culprit for doing just that. If you manage to plow your way through them, you will be in possession of one of the strongest rings in the game, the Ring of the Evil Eye. While wearing it, you gain 30 HP for each slain enemy. Right before the Gaping Dragon, you will meet Donal of Sina. He's a strange NPC. He sells you armor of bosses you have killed so far. I will not further mention him in any way. There is nothing to say lore-wise about the Gaping Dragon. It's a dragon, it's very hungry, and it's one of the easiest bosses in the whole game. Little is known about Blighttown and how it came into being. A lot of shacks are built into the walls and onto what seems to be last remains of the castle's aqueduct. You are greeted by huge undead barbarians with clubs and so-called ghouls. Don't ask me where the difference to hollows is. Along your way down, you will find purple moss clumps against poison and a blooming purple moss clump against toxic. You will need those against the blow dart snipers, who will immediately deal toxic damage after just 2 hits. You can use the so-called dung pies to inflict toxic on enemies yourselves, by the way. Further down there is the so-called parasitic wall hugger. No one really knows why this thing is here or what its purpose is in terms of gameplay. You can kill it from behind. The further you descend, the more the level turns into a muddy swamp area with mosquitoes and so-called crack spiders who will breathe fire at you. Down at the very bottom of the swamp you will meet Quilana of Izalith, but only if you are a pyromancer. 200 years ago she had the great Salaman as her pupil, who would become known as the greatest pyromancer in the rest of the outside world.
Long ago, I accepted another pupil like yourself. Over 200 years ago, there was a man almost as bungling as you. In your world, he was called Salaman, the master pyromancer. The little rascal really made something of himself.
She will finally reveal to you that her mother, the Witch of Izalith, wanted to create a first flame for herself, like Gwyn once did. But that copy failed to stay stable and deformed the witch, her daughters and subordinates into the demons you've seen before.
The Witch of Izalith. Please, do not speak of her. I abandoned my mother and sisters and fled to this land. My mother, the Witch of Izalith, was one of the primeval lords. Her power came from the soul that she found near the first flame. She focused this power to light a flame of her own, but she failed to control it. The flame of chaos engulfed Mother and my sisters and molded them into deformed creatures.
Quilana sells you an interesting enemy control spell, the Undead Report, which is justified as pyromancy by stating that the undead are lured to the living flame. So the boss of this area and guardian of the second bell is the Chaos Witch Quilek. She is one of the daughters of Chaos who got transformed into a hideous monster. Her lower body, that of a spider, will vomit lava and her upper body will fight against you close range. When she hugs her spider body, she will emit a near instant kill flame wave. After killing her and ringing the second bell, you will see Sans fortress opening up in a cutscene sequence. From here on out you are able to find Quilek's sixth sister, Quilan. And this encounter is really tricky. First you talk to her servant Angie. He is oblivious to any threat and thinks you are a new servant sent by Quilek.
Oh dear, what have we here? Are you a new servant?
Angie is an outcast for his notorious poisonous pyromancy, and Quilan healed him from his ailings, which made her even more sick.
But my dear fair lady, she cried for me and swallowed the great blight pus, despite Mistress Quelag's orders to the contrary.
To describe Quilan quickly is difficult. First she acts as a firekeeper. You can give her firekeeper souls to strengthen your Estus flask, or you can kill her, deactivate the bonfire and receive a firekeeper soul you can cash in elsewhere. Second, you cannot speak to Quilan, only if you wear a special ring which is too complicated to elaborate on where to get it. She will mistake you for her sister, and you, third, will be able to enter her covenant of Chaos servants.
Quelaag, my dear sister, the eggs, it hurts. They've gone still. I am afraid it may be too late. I am so sorry, dear sister. I'll be fine. I have you, dear sister. But promise me that you will take care of yourself. Quelaag, please, sister, do not cry. I am happy, really. I have you, don't I?
You have to keep giving Quilan humanity to aid her pain, and after climbing up in ranks, you receive 2 mighty pyromancy spells. And now keep this in mind, later in Lost Izalith you are able to open a shortcut which is crucial to save Solaire later on. It is the most convoluted questline next to a character we are still destined to meet. Through the Valley of Drakes, where you're able to fight a mini-boss for items, you will return to the Firelink Shrine. Here, 2 new events happened you should be aware of story-wise. I will shorten things a little bit for convenience sake, so Dark Souls veterans, please forgive me. Through many dialogue options, you will find out that Petrus escaped the tombs, but without Rhea and her bodyguards seemed to gone hollow.
But she became stranded deep below the catacombs. Her followers either fled or were reduced to hollows, leaving Maiden Thurland all alone.
Here you learn what a skirmish asshole he really is, and it would be advised to kill him on the spot.
Oh, hello there. Have you spoken with Sir Lautrec? Splendid. In the depths of the catacombs, Milady slipped off the giant's coffin and into a hole. Her 2 companions are no longer human, and the lass weeps in solitude. Right now, you could do as you please with her. The poor little purebred is entirely helpless.
Sir Lautrec has killed Anastasia, if you haven't killed him preemptively. He somehow managed to escape to Anor Londo, the city of the gods. This means you're not able to save your progress on the Firelink Shrine bonfire for the time being. Like the cutscene showed you, your next destination is Sen's Fortress. The fortress doesn't belong to Sen, by the way. This, like many other instances, is probably a translation error with the Japanese Sen, meaning 1000. Here you meet Sigmar of Katarina when the doors are still closed, by the way. He seems to be a simple-minded and friendly fellow and breaks his head about how to open the doors.
Oh, forgive me. I was absorbed in thought. I am Sigmar of Katarina. Quite honestly, I've run flat up against a wall. Or a gate, I should say. The thing just won't budge.
In Sen's Fortress, you will meet man-serpents. The thing is, nobody knows what they are doing here, because they are normally servants of Sif the Scalers, so I will speak about them later. Sen's Fortress is operated by 3 giants. One opened the gates, one operates the boulder mechanism, and one throws firebombs. They are hard to kill and hard-hitting, so beware. It is not mandatory to kill them, but advised. At least regarding the bomb-throwing one. And Sen's Fortress is of course the first introduction to the mimic chest you will encounter from here on out. Notable items here are nearly all of the stone plate rings, which grant high immunity against various elemental damage. The covetous gold serpent ring, which increases item drops from enemies. The slumbering dragon crest ring, which makes your character silent in motion. And last, the ring of steel protection, which boosts your defense and might tell of King Randall's demise in this fortress while trying to reach Anor Londo. In a cell you will meet up with a legendary Big Head Logan, who seems to be a total buffoon if you ask me. Free him and for a while he will relocate in Firelink Shrine. He sells you the possibly strongest magic attacks. The boss here is the Iron Golem. He's a tough son of a bitch, but very predictable. Now you finally ascend into Anor Londo. Because you see this huge walled off door there? Yeah, apparently the developers didn't have enough time to create a walkway to Anor Londo, so they had to teleport you here. Anor Londo itself is plagued by time constraints as well. Its lavish and majestically grandiose nature is accompanied by a rather small level overall. Here I will pick up many stories I discontinued before. But first you are greeted by seemingly autonomous sentinels. They hit like a train, but are rather slow and predictable in nature. After you dispose of a last gargoyle in this game, you will take a side trip through the Hall of the Great Painting. It is guarded by a dozen holy zealots, and via a special item I don't have the time to go into, you are able to enter the painted world of Ariamis. This is an inside joke by the developers I will not go into any further. This area was once an alpha stage of the game. Miyazaki didn't want to cut entirely, and the boss Priscilla, who can turn invisible, was once planned as a co-op NPC character. After that possible encounter, you will face the flying demons who can't fly, and thematically I really have no fucking clue what they are even doing up here. You enter the residences of the Silver Knights, and here I want to reference the aforementioned Black Knights. Black Knights are former Silver Knights who were sent into the flaming lost Izalith to eliminate the growing threat of demons and the root of the artificial flame, the bed of chaos. Their armor stenched in fire and demon's blood, they are harder to beat than their silver counterpart here in Anor Londo, who stayed to defend the kingdom, and Gwyn's daughter Guinevere. For some reason, still unbeknownst to you, the shield of the Silver Knights, if you get one from a drop, tells you of the illusory goddess. We will find out what that means later. In the residences you will find Solaire, who is still in a good mood, it appears.
You really are fond of chatting with me, aren't you? If I didn't know better, I'd think you had feelings for me. Oh no, dear me, pretend you didn't hear that.
Here is one significant room where I will pick up a character most of you might have forgotten, Havel the Rock. In a trophy room, in a chest, lies his armor. There is a mention of the Allfather Lloyd, uncle of Gwyn, to whom Havel was an apostle to. Havel sought out to terminate all remaining dragons with his heavy armor and a dragon's tooth as a weapon. Lloyd is also printed on a gold coin you find. Havel's ring, by the way, makes you much lighter, so you can carry heavier armor. Before your next boss, you will get help from the giant blacksmith. He isn't really the talkative type. He leaves you with the Hawk ring, which states that it belongs to a legendary archer called Hawkeye Go. One of 4 knights Gwyn trusted the most. This ring boosts your bow's range. Next up are Ornstein and Smo. Ornstein holds the Leo ring, which boosts riposte attacks and is thus one of Gwyn's most trusted allies. Smo, on the other hand, a simple executioner, became enamored with the idea to become one of Gwyn's knights, but was ostracized due to his personality and status. His weapon states that he ate his victim's bones. Yuck! While Ornstein absorbs Smo's corpse with respect, Smo slams Ornstein into pieces with envy if you kill Ornstein first. Finally, you are able to lay your saddened and sleepy head into giant Guinevere's bosom. She will grant you the Lord Vessel, which lets you warp between bonfires. You are able to join Guinevere's helpful covenant from here on out. Now, this will be tricky to explain. Via a ring from the Tomb of Giants, you are able to meet Gwyndolin, Gwyn's last-born son. Gwyndolin leads the Covenant of the Dark Moon Blade, a brutal underground organization of Anor Londo that punishes sinners. Do you remember Guinevere being mentioned as an illusionary goddess? Kill Guinevere and you find out that your whole experience so far was a powerful illusion created by Gwyndolin. Anor Londo is in fact not the prosperous and mighty kingdom it appeared to be. It has plunged into darkness like everything else in Lordran. There is a creepy story that Gwyndolin, because of his linking to the moon, like Guinevere's link to the symbol of sun, was raised as a daughter despite being a male. You now are able to kill Gwyndolin and visit Guinevere's long cold grave. By the way, if you didn't kill Lautrec and he killed Anastasia, now's the time to invade his world and get the Firekeeper's soul back. Before we return to Firelink Shrine, I want to mention the ingenious visual framing, that all of Gwyn's firstborn statues are completely demolished, while his daughters remain just fine. This is visible on different occasions, and a ring, the Ring of Sun's Firstborn, mentions this too. Upon returning to Firelink Shrine, you will meet King Seeker Frompt, an ally of Lord Gwyn.
I am the primordial serpent, King Seeker Frompt, close friend of the great Lord Gwyn, chosen undead, who has rung the bell of awakening. I wish to elucidate your fate.
He tells you of your fate to success the great Lord Gwyn and rekindle the first flame and stabilize this world.
Your fate is to succeed the great Lord Gwyn, so that you may link the fire, cast away the dark, and undo the curse of the undead.
Since you probably just killed the goddess of sun, you should be suspicious towards his promises, I guess. He instructs you to kill the 4 great lords Gwyn entrusted parts of his magnificent soul to.
To achieve your fate, fill the vessel with powerful souls, commensurate to the great soul of Gwyn. Scarce few possess such brilliant souls. Grave Lord Nito, the Witch of Izalith, the 4 kings of New Londo, who inherited the shards of Gwyn's soul, and Lord Gwyn's former confidant, Seath the Scaleless.
From here on out, you're able to enter which realm you want. I will take the following order: Duke's Archive, Lost Izalith, New Londo, and finally the Tomb of Giants. From Anor Londo, you enter the Duke's Archives. Seath the Scaleless resides here in everlasting search for wisdom and eternal life. Seath was born without scales like his brethren and thus is not immortal like them. Gwyn granted him the opportunity to betray his kind and bestowed upon him the title of Duke. Upon crystallized enemies, you will be confronted with Seath's channelers. From their armor, you learn that Seath is blind and has possibly gone insane. The channelers are found in the far below land to look for specimens Seath can experiment on. You will be surprised that Seath is already awaiting you and seems immortal. You cannot harm him since he found his long sought after immortality. He eliminates you and imprisons you by creating a bonfire in a guarded cell. You escape your cell and a loud melody is activated by the Snake Man, also twisted experiments by Seath. This sound lets the so-called Pisakas loose, nearly blind tentacle monsters. They were once maidens, hoarded by Seath and lastly wasted in fruitless efforts to grow dragon scales. Down in the cells you find the idiot Big Head Logan again. Some fans proclaim he had himself imprisoned on purpose to infiltrate the archives, but I swear none of his dialogue suggests any of this.
Hello again. What a chance meeting this is. Alas, I'm imprisoned once again. I don't suppose you could stage me a getaway. The archives. Such a storehouse of knowledge, so close but just out of reach. The thought offends me so I could simply die.
After freeing him, he has a last bunch rare crystal sorcery. After buying all of it and returning to Seath's crystal throne room or whatever that was, he has gone insane like Seath and will attack you. Out of the archives, you will enter the Garden of the Crystal Caves. This area is inhabited by crystal golems. Some of them are golden and stronger, and one of them holds Sigmayr's daughter.
It was you who rescued me. Why, thank you. I am Vigeland of Katarina.
The Crystal Caves are just an elongated, beautiful challenge room. You destroy Seath's primordial crystal, which makes him mortal again and vulnerable. Seath operates with curse-afflicted attacks, so buckle up with some corresponding armor. Now I would implore you to go to the Demon Ruins, the area after Queelan's bonfire. You enter fiery, molten grounds and face the gigantic, mutated Chaos Daughter's younger brother. He is in constant agony since he lost his ring, which should grant him relief from his smoldering wounds. After killing him, a good portion of lava will cease from the ground and will reveal an army of Capra and Taurus demons. But this insane challenge is optional. You will arrive at the Asylum Demon's palette swap, which in my opinion is so impossibly hard with its fucking area effect damage. I never succeeded against him without a glitch. From here on out, it gets really wild with the Solaire story, which finally comes to an end here. there are two options. Either you do the cryptic bullshit or you don't. If you are not member of the Chaos Servants, you will not be able to open the shortcut to Lost Izalith. And by the way, if you do not rank high enough in that covenant, you aren't able to open it either. After opening the shortcut, you will be able to kill a bunch of bugs and enter Lost Izalith. That's it. But this event has tremendous outcomes. If you killed the bugs, you will meet Solaire depressed and lost for words, that after such a long journey he wasn't able to find the sun.
Was it all a lie? Have I done this all for nothing? Oh, my dear son. What now? What should I do?
If you didn't open the shortcut and thus didn't kill the bugs, one of the fuckers will clinch to Solaire's head and he will completely go insane in gleeful joy that he finally found his son.
Finally, I have my very own son. I am the sun, my son. It's setting. It's dark. So dark.
What a great and cheerful experience this game is, guys. You need the so-called sunlight maggot in either case to traverse the Tomb of Giants, by the way. Before entering the Lost City, you will face the Centipede demon. He can traverse lava, you can't. It's as simple and annoying as that. After killing him, you get the orange charred ring, which lets you walk on lava rather unharmed. Lost Izalith is the old city of the Chaos Daughters, nearly engulfed in fire, ash and lava. Giant remains of dragons' carcasses are stamping through this canvas of pain and death. You will find Siegmeyer down in the ruins with the Chaos Eaters. He will fight those disgusting things together with you, and this questline has two possible outcomes. First, he ends the fight with less than 50% HP and will perish on the spot while thanking you. The second option, he will march further on, leading to his final destination. I will discuss later when he has more HP than 50%. Before entering the Bed of Chaos, one remaining unmutated daughter of Chaos will try to stop you with pillars of fire. The Great Witch can summon on you too. Dispose of her and enter the arena. The Bed of Chaos is the metastasis of a blown up First Flame copy. The flame still nourishes from the body of a witch after hundreds of years. This boss is bound by two shackles, constructed out of the bodies of two daughters of Chaos. Destroy them and finish your deed by terminating the curled up corpse of a witch within the covert of branches. Next we will enter Darkroot Garden, but I have to make a cap on this one, otherwise it will get too convoluted. You are able to enter the Forest Hunter Covenant via talking to a cat. Don't ask. You will meet many protectors of the woods along your way. Giant rolling cats who are possibly the hardest fucking enemies in the game, and many sorts of guardians. Humans in the forests and old forgotten stone knights. You have to engage in a side quest here to later enter the DLC. Kill the giant hydra, which is pretty awesome encounter, and you will get the Dusk Crown ring, which tells you of the Princess Dusk of Ulasil. You will be able to free her from a golden crystal golem. I will not in any way discuss her further because she's the most fucking boring character in the whole game. She literally has nothing of merit to say, it's astonishing. Around here you will also find the Grass Crest shield, which boosts your stamina recovery. Try to obtain this item as early as possible. There's just one single Silver Knight guarding it and you always can just run around him, grab the item and die. You have to enter Darkroot Garden in the first place to face Great Grey Wolf Sif. He guards the graveyard of his long-lost master, the Knight Artorias. He is maybe the only boss in the game who has two faces. It's nothing special, but after losing nearly all of his health he starts to limp and fall over. It really gives the fight personality and is thus favorite among fans. He gives you a ring which is strangely called Covenant of Artorias. Maybe some translation error? I don't know. You need this ring to go up against the boss in New Londo. You will find New Londo as ruins underwater. The 4 kings who reside here, engulfed in magic from the Dark Abyss, were deemed so dangerous in their greed by Lord Gwyn that he flooded the whole area and drowned all its hallowed citizens. This makes this whole area cursed, and its residents beleaguer it as ghosts who can glide through walls and concrete mass. You have to activate the item Transient Curse to be cursed yourself. This lasts for up to 5 minutes upon usage, and in this state you can fight the dead. You want to find Ingward, who guards the flooding gates to the Valley of Drakes. He tells you of the dark wraiths who were so dangerous to man they had to be buried with their fellow citizens to contain the threat.
I watch over the 4 kings, the masters of the dark wraiths. The dark wraiths are the enemies of man and any living thing that has a soul. They were born in New Londo, and that is where they perished. The entire city was sacrificed to contain them, for that is how great a threat they were.
You are now able to open the floodgates and release the horror once sealed. The so-called Dark Wraiths are excellently trained warriors and are able to absorb all your humanity. Down in the streets here, hundreds upon hundreds of corpses are revealed. They were pushed together to clumps by the water's sheer pressure. You will face the 4 kings in the abyss, which you can only traverse with the aforementioned Notorious Ring. Through a glitch, there can appear up to 5 of them, which is the sloppiest shit I've ever seen in a video game. This is a total rush boss, by the way. Put on your heaviest armor and just rush into them. Completely ignore all attacks and hack away. You can always Estus after the whole ordeal. Because you are able to do this was a main reason for From Software to nerf all subsequent armor in Dark Souls 2 and 3. You will be granted by Darkstalker Coffee, the other primordial serpent. For some reason you can only join his covenant before you sort out the Lord Vessel. I really don't know why, to be honest. Maybe we placed the Lord Vessel forefront, so to speak? I don't know. As a Dark Wraith, you gain the ability to suck humanity from opponents via a new attack called the Dark Hand. Leveling up in ranks will grant you the ability to invade other players as often as you like, instead of using a finite item called the Cracked Red Eye Orb. Coffee tells you of your true nature and history's subdued truth. I'm sorry for this lengthy clip, but this is maybe the most important monologue in all the 3 Dark Souls.
After the advent of fire, the ancient lords found the 3 souls, but your progenitor found a 4th, unique soul, the Dark Soul. Your ancestor claimed the Dark Soul and waited for fire to subside, and soon the flames did fade, and only dark remained. Thus began the Age of Men, the Age of Dark. However, Lord Gwyn trembled at the dark, clinging to his Age of Fire and in dire fear of humans, and the Dark Lord who would one day be born amongst them. Lord Gwyn resisted the course of nature by sacrificing himself to link the fire and commanding his children to shepherd the humans. Gwyn has blurred your past to prevent the birth of the Dark Lord.
Remember the unkillable skeletons right at the beginning of the game? Finally, we are going there again, preferably with a weapon laced with magic. Otherwise, those sack of bones will reanimate over and over again. There are only 2 sorts of skeletons, really. The normal warrior type and those freakishly huge ones. An undead mage, a necromancer, can intervene with this ability if you see one further down. Make sure to kill him as quickly as possible to avoid further trouble. The boss in this area is Pinwheel. He can create duplicate decoys of himself, but overall is easy to dispose of. You will be granted the right of kindling. This lets you kindle a bonfire even further for up to 20 uses of Estus. You are able to come here far earlier, by the way. Pinwheel is rather easy to overcome, while the area leading up to him is not. Now you're able to enter the Tomb of Giants, a pitch black area where you cannot see mere meters in front of you. So of course this level features the most frantic and brutal enemies in the whole game. Of course! Use the earlier mentioned sunlight maggot as headgear and illuminate the place at least a little bit. Patches greets you and wants to show you some treasures he found further down.
There! Wow! Take a closer look.
Of course he tricks you, and you plummet down to the next level. Around here you will find Rhea, whose bodyguards turned hollow.
Please be careful. There are 2 fierce hollows not far from here. They were once brave knights, my former escorts.
After rescuing her, she will visit the chapel in Undead Parish and will sell you miracles.
Would a miracle be of any help to you? I would be most pleased if that was so. And may we discuss miracles then?
If you buy all her miracles, a channeler of Thief will kidnap her and she will die in a cell in the Duke's archives. Now you're ready to face Gravelord Nito, the last of the lords. I will not go into his stupid covenant at all. There is a way to enter Nito's domain via a secret shortcut. Even though you could kill him right here and there, you are now able to join his covenant. Only if you enter via the official boss door, he will get aggroed and the boss fight begins. It's the stupidest shit and I will ignore all of this. Nito is a minion spawner. He will activate other skeletons around him, which are again disposed of by divine weapons. Nito himself, on the other hand, is weak to fire weapons, so choose as is preferred. He has wide-ranged homing attacks that come through the ground but are accompanied by a loud scream. Close range, he has an area damage effect that really hits home but also kills his skeleton minions. After retrieving the last Lord Soul, you could face Gwyn, but there is still the DLC and a hidden area that ends Sigmaya's story. From the swamp, there is access to a hidden area called the Great Hollow. A covert of giant roots that leads down to the framework of this world, the Ash Lake. Upon those pillars Lordran, if not the whole world of Dark Souls, is built. Here you will find Sigmaya's daughter again, Sieglinde.
My father, all hollow now. He's been subdued. He will cause no more trouble. It's finally over. Dear father.
What an anti-climax. You will be able to find the everlasting stone dragon, maybe the last remnant of those magnificent creatures. You can cut his tail to obtain an insanely powerful weapon that deals up to 600 damage, but you need 50 strength to wield this thing. You can enter this covenant, which is really difficult, since you need to hunt down players with a very rare item, Dragon Scale. We are now entering the DLC. Grab an item from the Duke's archives and enter the portal where you found Dusk of Ulasil. You will be transported back in time, just after Ulasil found its doom by the eruption of the Dark Abyss. You will see that Ulasil was once the Darkroot Garden. You face the Sanctuary Guardian head on. He's there to scare away players who enter this DLC but are not strong enough yet to handle the rest of the content. Much of this stuff can only be beaten after collecting all 4 Lord Souls. After traversing the woods and facing the next boss, the marvelous Chester tells you how Ulasil was tricked by Darkstalker Carthy as well.
Believe it or not, Ulasil has brought the abyss upon itself, fooled by that toothy serpent. They upturned the grave of primeval man and incited his ornery wrath.
Here you will face the legendary Artorias, the Abyss Walker. This fearsome warrior appears corrupted and badly damaged. You are only a match for him because his left arm is broken and Artorias is said to be left-handed in combat. His arm was broken when he tried to defend his best friend, the wolf Sif, with his shield. The abyss got to him. This fight is pretty much unmanageable without stamina boosting items and high level stats in general. Artorias will power up after 1/3 into the fight and is from now on able to basically kill you in 2 hits, no matter your HP, I would say. In the town of Ulasil you will meet the remaining 2 great heroes of Gwyn, Hawkeye Go and Ciaran. Hawkeye Go is a giant and legendary archer, but was blinded in battle and is now forced to wait until the abyss swallows this land. He has no interesting dialogue, so I'm gonna skip it. Last you will meet the 4th great knightress, Ciaran, possibly lover of Artorias. From here on, you yourself will enter the infamous abyss. The entrance is guarded by a bloated creature imprisoned in chains. Down here, humanity runs rampant, and after digging the deepest, you will find Sif, who is guarded by Artorias' powerful magic shield. The boss you are facing is Manus. There is a theory that he is the so-called 3rd type pygmy, the one that didn't acquire a Lord Soul, but something called the Dark Soul. It is speculated that he lost control like the Witch of Izalith, and this is the result. To be honest, I think of this guy as a rather boring encounter. The only interesting mechanic is his dark magic that can be deflected by an item you received, the Silver Pendant. Your last, completely optional and story unrelated challenge is to take down the Dragon Kalameet. At this point you are unable to even scathe him. He will fly over you and grill you in an instant. After that encounter, ask Hawkeye Go for help to take the dragon down. Even though blind for fuck's sake, he impales one of the dragon's wings, which renders him grounded. Again, I hold this fight as a rather boring one. It's another Sith fight, you are therefore advised to stay under his belly, but now that thing can breathe fire. The only interesting aspect is that Kalameet can use telekinesis to render you airborne and helpless. It is accompanied by an interesting audio sting. After all this hardship, you can finally face Lord Gwyn. He transferred himself into another semi-dimension called the Kiln of the First Flame. Here everything lies barren in ashen ruins. This is why the First Flame is fading. Lord Gwyn already burned everything up in his glorious realm, and there is nothing to feed it further on than his own mangled body. Ironically, the one who betrayed humanity of its rightful place in the story has turned hollow himself over the years. This is a trick the Dark Souls series will use much more often in the future. The only reason you are even able to go toe to toe with a god is because this god is no such thing anymore. It's not really you who defeated him, but time and attrition. After defeating Lord Gwyn, you are able to choose 2 endings. You can reign in the era of darkness and become the Lord of Humanity.
My lord, bless thy safe return. Let Kath and Fraft serve your highness. We are here to serve your highness. Let true dark be cast upon the world. Our Lord hath returned.
Or you can sacrifice yourself to the first flame and rekindle it for eons to come until the futile cycle of undead continues.